Title: Beneath the Sycamore Tree. Chapter 1: The Arrival. Willowmere had always been a town where time moved slowly, almost defiantly so. It clung to its cobblestone streets and rusted weather vanes, reluctant to surrender to the pace of the outside world. For 17-year-old Clara Evans, it was both a sanctuary and a cage. She knew every crack in the pavement, every creak in the floorboards of the town library where she volunteered, and most of all, the comforting silence beneath the grand sycamore tree at the edge of her mother's wildflower garden. That summer began like any other: honey-thick air, sun-drenched afternoons, and the occasional whisper of change. It arrived in the form of a moving truck that coughed up dust and dreams outside the long-abandoned yellow house at the end of her street. From its shadow stepped a boy. His name was Jonah Caldwell, and he carried the look of someone used to leaving before roots could take hold. With storm-grey eyes and a guarded expression, he was the kind of person who seemed to carry invisible weights: loss, perhaps, or memory. Clara, curious in the quiet way of artists, watched him from behind the hedge, her sketchbook forgotten on her lap. Fate, or coincidence, intervened the next afternoon when she found him sitting beneath her sycamore, earbuds in, staring up at the canopy of green like it was the first time he'd seen leaves move in the wind. "You're in my spot," she said, not unkindly. He looked at her, only half interested. "Didn't see your name on it." "Maybe I should carve it." He smirked, barely. "Be my guest." It was the beginning of something unnameable. Chapter 2: Conversations in the Shade. Over the next few weeks, Jonah returned to the tree again and again, always with a book he rarely opened or a guitar he rarely played. Clara, more curious than cautious, found herself drawn into conversations with him that began awkwardly but deepened with surprising swiftness. He spoke of cities he barely remembered, and a mother he couldn't forget. She spoke of dreams she hadn't shared, even with her closest friends, of art school, of gallery walls, of escape. There was a rhythm to it, like jazz, unpredictable, unplanned, but magnetic. "Do you think people can be homes?" Jonah asked one day as she painted the sweep of the sky between branches. She paused. "Not just can. I think the right people always are." He looked away, but not before she caught the soft tremble of a smile. It was beneath that tree that he kissed her for the first time, tentatively, with the reverence of someone who wasn't sure they deserved to feel something so soft. It felt like sunlight on closed eyelids, like possibility. Chapter 3: The Edge of Goodbye. By mid-August, the inevitability of goodbye loomed. Jonah's father, a government contractor with an insatiable appetite for relocation, had received another transfer. Another house. Another life to step into and out of. Neither of them mentioned it for days. Instead, they spent every waking hour wrapped in the present, chronicling their time together in sketches and song lyrics, in whispered secrets and shared silences. Clara gave Jonah a leather-bound notebook filled with drawings and short poems, each page a timestamp of their dwindling summer. Vulnerable. "You'll forget me," she said one evening, trying to sound casual but failing. "Sincerely, I've forgotten a lot of things," he said, firmly. "I won't forget this. I couldn't." The night before he left, they carved their initials into the bark of the sycamore, the blade trembling slightly in Jonah's hand. Sadly, "I wish we had more time," he whispered. She nodded, tears gathering unshed. Softly, "We had enough to matter." Chapter 4: A Decade of Distance. Time, as it does, slipped forward. Clara left Willowmere at 19, earning a scholarship to a small but prestigious art school upstate. She studied hard, painted harder, and eventually made a name for herself illustrating children's books that always seemed to feature trees and quiet-eyed boys. Jonah disappeared into a life of motion, college, the Navy, and later, humanitarian work in places Clara only read about in headlines. They lost touch, not because they didn't care, but because life has a way of thinning even the strongest threads when distance is allowed to pull. Clara returned to Willowmere at 27, drawn home by the death of her father and the need to feel steady again. She kept to herself, often retreating to the sycamore tree with her watercolors and silence. Beneath its shade, she felt like a younger version of herself might still exist, innocent, invincible, in love. Chapter 5. Reunion. Beneath the branches. It was on one such morning, with the dew still clinging to blades of grass and the town just beginning to stir, that she saw him again. Surprised. Jonah, older, broader-shouldered, a little weathered at the edges, but unmistakable. He walked toward her like he knew she'd be there. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Softly, "Is it still your tree?" he asked finally. She smiled, lips trembling, fondly. It was always ours. He sat beside her, just like that long-ago summer, and for a while they just breathed. Sincerely. "I kept the notebook," he said. Chuckles. "It's falling apart, but I never stopped reading it." Shyly. "And I kept drawing you," she admitted, eyes lowering. "Even when I didn't realize I was." There was no need to rush anything. What they had wasn't about rekindling something that burned out. It was about uncovering something that had quietly endured. They met under the sycamore every Sunday for months. At first it was innocent. Coffee, conversation, slow walks through the changing leaves of autumn. But something grew between them again. Different now, weathered and wise, but no less profound. Jonah moved back to Willowmere the following spring, not for Clara, he insisted, but because for the first time in his life, somewhere finally felt like home. Years later when they married, it was beneath the very tree where everything had begun. The initials they'd carved as teenagers still visible, aged but unbroken. Some loves are fleeting. Others endure the storm, the silence, the spaces between. Clara and Jonah's was the latter. Not perfect, but true. The end. Thank you for listening. Have a great day or night wherever you are.